Welcome back, everyone. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. This is our AI Factory series where we unpack all the technology that's driving the next generation infrastructure. AI infrastructure is the hottest sector of the market as innovation and also development is going to enable this next wave of tokens, agents, and then physical AI as this all comes together. Of course, we're talking to all the leaders here. And we got Gio Albertazzi, who's here, the CEO of Vertiv. Welcome to theCUBE.
Well, thank you for having me, John.
I was
pleasure.
chatting with you before we came on camera about telecom and then the big data. You guys have been doing a ton of work across all major critical infrastructures. Data centers, I should have said on the intro, is the hottest area. Everyone's building $50 billion, sorry, Anthropic had news out. They're going to, they say 50 billion, but whether that happens or not, we'll see. Share your thoughts on what you guys are doing. First, explain what your business you're in, because you guys are in the center of the action on where this money's being spent, but also where the critical ingredient energy is involved. Talk about what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me here. Vertiv is a global leader in digital critical infrastructure, so think everything infrastructural on a data center or in a telecom, as we were talking about telecom network, is around power, and cooling, and all the physical infrastructure around de facto the IT. IT needs to be cooled. That heat is not just about extracting from it, but from the IT, but needs to be then reused or anyway expelled from the building. And then you have to take power and bring the power in the various stages, probably medium voltage, and take it to the chip. That's what we do, and everything. Sometimes even system level integration and a lot of service to follow a customer during the life cycle of their asset. And global and
talk about the business. You guys are NYSE listed companies, so we'd love to have you on theCUBE and our NYSE Wired program and community. There's been a lot of active discussions in this peer group around architecture. Talk about what you guys do on the business side. What's the core products? How's business going? What are some of the stats?
Business is going strong. A strong market, but we believe we're growing more than the market, so gaining market share. Last week or a few days ago, we guided our end of the third quarter to a 27% year-on-year growth. So both in terms of top line, in terms of margin, we are taking numbers up. So very pleased with the direction of travel, but even more pleased about our role in an industry that is growing. And our role is really enabling the industry. Without power, cooling, the physical infrastructure, it's hard to think about a data center. It's hard to think about an AI factory. So the centrality of what we do is absolutely undisputable important.
You know, one of the trends that I think is your friend is obviously this trend towards physical AI. And if you look at like Jensen Huang at Nvidia, he was just speaking at they had a mini GTC in DC because it's getting very political. Everyone wants their GB300s. The build out is not just getting started. There's a lot of headroom. So obviously the data centers are being kind of designed from ground zero to be basically supercomputers. Existing data centers that don't necessarily have the footprint design from a clean sheet of paper, kind of a brownfield as they say, have to be retrofitted and reworked. Then you have other opportunities that are emerging on infrastructure.
Sure.
What is your vision as AI factories get built? You got these centralized power sources. They have to talk to other distributed nodes in the network. I mean, it's distributed computing. This is what we're talking about. So you got all kinds of physical, digital things happening. How do you see that market, and as a CEO, but also with your partners? What's the formation? Is there an ecosystem forming? How do you see that market?
Well, the ecosystem is really between kind of a silicon and clearly Nvidia first and foremost, colo, hyperscale, and the likes of ourselves. That we like to think of ourselves as the connecting tissue between all these players, and the build out, of course. Is happening, and if anything, it is accelerating. It's accelerating certainly in the large data center, gigascale, and sometimes beyond, but also in a more distributed, smaller, let's say, footprint, smaller size. It is pretty ubiquitous.
Power and cooling had to come back. It never really went anywhere, but if you go back 5 years ago, there was some pretty much state-of-the-art power and cooling, liquid cooling, all kinds of new things. and now it's become such the center point of all the economics and the design side.
Yeah.
What's changed in power and cooling as a category over the past, say, 4 years? What's the biggest change? Is it just more action, different designs? What's your view on that?
Yeah, well, think about it. I myself been in the industry for decades. So you move from a period in which things were not dramatically changing from a type of IT loads to a period now, the last few years, as you were saying, where power density has increased dramatically. And that is the quantum change in terms of challenges and opportunities from a cooling standpoint. You have to move to liquid cooling, something that a few years ago didn't even exist. Well, existed, but it's a very niche scale. And the same is happening on the power side. So the whole conversation about high voltages is really to enable this continuous, ongoing densification of loads, which is a phenomenal opportunity, because with the densification of loads, you have way much higher
performance.
Performance of the performance of the
supercomputing.
Exactly. So the whole industry is changing radically. It's super interesting for us, and of course we are at the center of that, and we are leading together with Nvidia and some of their customers, most of our customers, really this transformation. This transformation is not about the technology you have today. Today, the technology you have today is very important, but the technology you're working on 2-3 years out is even long-term more important. So being there at that table and being an actor, super important.
Yeah, you guys are in a good position, as they say,
very much.
in the middle of the fairway, and if you use a golf analogy, or pole position if you're on the racetrack. I want to ask you about the system side of it. About 4 years ago, we were reporting, Dave Vellante and our research team and I were saying large-scale clustered systems, or we were using, I think, your word supercluster. It was not yet clear that the supercomputing would kind of come out of, Nvidia going, hey, let's connect InfiniBands and Blackwells, and look what happened. And then all that software that they wrapped around it kind of really changed the game. That densification is now a system architecture. You guys have this system thinking. You have to think like a system architect, because you are the connective tissue, you're a control point. You have to write code and technology to know when to do something with power and cooling. You're in the critical machine layer.
Absolutely.
You're like right there where everyone wants to be.
Absolutely. It's a multi-layer thing. I mean, of course, in a critical infrastructure, be it, well, we simplify it talking about a powertrain and thermal chain, if you will. Every element of this train or chain needs to be optimized from a technology standpoint. But then it is how the system works together that makes a difference. Because you need to really think about the system, optimize the system, and deploy rapidly the system. And then there is a software layer that controls and optimizes the way the various parts of this complex system work together, the power, the thermal, the IT loads. Vertiv Unify is what we use for that, and it's, again, another layer of competitive advantage, if you will.
Yeah, it's very nuanced, but I do want to highlight that value you guys have, because if you look at all the buzz going on in some of the core conversations where the real money's being made, the word interconnect is used. Interconnects, co-packaged optics. So as the hardware starts getting smarter and closer and intelligent, you're essentially an interconnect. You're connecting things.
Very much so. That's
not in the classic definition, but you're in a network.
But the ability to have an perfect interoperability of all the elements of the physical infrastructure is so important for the efficiency and the ability to scale the.
I know you did a couple acquisitions. Looking at the news here, but I want to talk about your relationship with Nvidia. I'm really bullish on Omniverse. I think the digital twins work that they're doing is going to usher in way more efficiencies. So I want to get your thoughts on Nvidia Omniverse and how you guys are looking at that and partnering with them. And then also throw a little futuristic question out at you, like, not that I date myself, but grid computing was a concept in the 90s. Use some cycles from one PC. It's kind of but this idea of grid energy and the way you guys are looking at this, I could see potentially scenarios where energy could be managed from these large systems in a very effective way. And it sounds like you guys are doing that now at many levels, or kind of in that world. Are you in that world of gridding out or connecting energy?
Two big topics. Two big topics. Exactly. Let me use the next 2 hours to address that. So let's start from the first. clearly, Omniverse is extremely important. It's a vision of where giga scale the industry is going, and the fact that we are prominently visible in everything. Nvidia material discourse presentation is testament to our role, not just a role in the industry, but role in terms of partnership. And again, the partnership is not just about having the technology or the ability to scale today, super important, but working together with them.
You guys are co-designing.
Co-designing, exactly. What do we want to achieve 2 years from now? Don't forget that the type of infrastructure that we make available needs to be there ahead of when the new GPU versions or models are deployed, because the physical infrastructure needs to be there. So being ahead is extremely important.
Talk about extreme co-design. That's a big topic of Nvidia. They've actually pioneered with you guys this notion of actually leaning in, not just doing some sort of business deal. Hey, we're partnering, get this API, or this co-design is an intentional Nvidia strategy.
Absolutely.
You guys are in that. Explain what that means.
That means that our engineers and their engineers are working together on a very, very stringent and cadenced calendar, if you will. Yeah. It is really working together, doing things together in labs, but also conceptually understanding where are the limits of physics for the physical infrastructure, so that the silicon technology can really thrive, and the future technology, silicon technology, can be enabled. So that is really a lot of hours of engineering work together, and that's been going on for years.
And the benefit is you take advantage of the next step function change of the technology.
Oh, absolutely. So, and it is being there, having the visibility is so important for both. Let's go to the grid. The second part of your 2-hour question. Clearly we see energy as a pacing factor for the industry, and I'm personally not kind of too worried about the ability to solve the energy problem, because we see that it's not just grid and generation, but it's the entire industry that is directing capital, ingenuity, and creativity really on how to solve the problem. We see more and more, let's say, bring your own power, behind the meter power generation. We have a big role there in...
Define behind the meter for people who don't know what that means.
For example, if you have a turbine generating power within, let's say, almost physically, within the gate, within the gate of a data center. We see more and more data center being designed that way. So that requires a very well-designed, from the power generation point to the chip, powertrain. That gives an opportunity to use the heat generation generated by the whatever the technology used. It's a fuel cell, it's a gas turbine. Then there is heat that can be used for in many ways, shapes, and form for the data center. So our role in that respect is extremely central. But at the same time, those data center, many data center, even when they do not have kind of on-site power generation, have increasingly, let's say, an active interface role with the grid. So battery energy storage systems for peak shaving, all elements that are changing the dynamics between the data center and the grid, much more interoperable.
Yeah, and it's design specific.
Absolutely.
You have to design that architecture.
Exactly. Of course, like everything in this industry that is going at the speed that it's going, industrialization is the word. So prefabrication is key. So reference design, so that you don't have to every time design everything from scratch, is central to the speed at which the industry needs to go.
It's such a fascinating position. I think it's one of those most important areas you're playing in. Now, when you think about the AI factory, there's a lot of energy involved. There's behind the meter. Thanks for explaining that for people who don't know. And then you're going to have distribution. You hear terms like scale up, scale out. That's been around. Now scale across. So now you have design points for how packets are going to move, how tokens are going to move across the network. How does that affect you? Because I can see other elements involved with kind of the old IoT market. You mentioned you guys do some work with telecom. There's a lot of physical opportunity physical AI opportunities. How do you see you managing AI to help with this designing this energy?
Well, certainly we use AI to optimize the way the system works, if you will. But if your question is, do you see AI as something that generates an opportunity beyond data center? Yes, as well.
Well, inside you mentioned how you're handling all the energy. AI could help you on that for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the acquisitions that we've done recently, Waylay, is exactly addressing that type of opportunity. So, system level AI enabled preventative maintenance and for example, energy use optimization. All things that are augmented by AI.
Okay, you're in a fun area. Obviously, there's so much we can go another hour on talk about, like the other distributed computing points, because you have telecom, they have all these towers, they have all these systems, kind of old operational systems that could be modernized, that are throwing off heat. They could get factory capabilities.
Absolutely.
So I can see simulation being important there.
Yeah, we've been in the telecom space together with the data center space for decades. That's also important now because telecom space traditionally is a DC power, so direct current type of electrical infrastructure, and we all know that DC power is also coming to the data center. So we see a lot of synergy, and it plays to one of our strengths, the DC power. But you're right. I mean, there is a telecom network that will, we believe, be upgraded to the level of intelligence, not just kind of a token generation at the far end of a network. So super interesting.
I mean, if you crack the code on energy management or that area, you're going to have a lot of benefits. What's your vision on what's possible for you guys? I know you're a public company, so you can't do forward-looking statements, but in terms of the opportunity going forward, there's a lot of headroom as you guys crack the code, co-design with Nvidia, get this distributed kind of control points in place.
I think we are in a very, very important position today for the relationship with Nvidia, of course, and others as well, but also because the breadth of our portfolio and the reputation we have in the industry brings us to all the tables very early on. And we have very good visibility on an industry that is dynamically evolving like we've never seen before. And that's going to last. So it's all about being able to scale, being able to have, be actively contributing to the future technology, and that's what we do very well.
And as digital and physical merge into kind of first party citizens, like they're going to be completely connected.
Absolutely.
That's why I love the Omniverse. Okay, final question. What's your focus now? What are you optimizing for? What's your business goals? What's on your CEO plate?
Well, two things are really central to my focus. One, continue to innovate. And innovate because we know that the industry and the underlying technology is not static, not at all. So innovation in terms of pure technology, but also innovate in ways in which we bring the technology to the market. So to what extent interoperability between across all elements of the chain and train, as I was saying, and prefabrication can enable, for example, we launched recently Vertiv OneCore, that is a fully pre-designed and prefabricated, if needed, AI factory. So technology, how it evolves and how it enables, and the other is scale. Focus on scale, because that's
Scale's
now
great.
It's the moment.
Well, we'll see you at Supercomputing next week, and Mobile World Congress certainly around the corner next year.
Absolutely.
Gio, thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks a lot.
We could be in another 2 hours, get digging.
Thanks.
The energy is the central point of all the innovation, all of the AI, cryptocurrency, all the innovation around this new infrastructure is bounded by energy. Crack the code there, a lot more innovations coming. Of course, we got it here on the AI Factory series. Thanks for watching.